Let's take a look at how the fill light slider comes into play. I'm going to open up a different image, one we have way down here again. And this image has just got about every problem you can have. The image is well, look at the histogram. You've got the white warning, which means, everything's bad. The reds, the greens, the blues, there's total clipping. The image is backlit. And that's a key time when you see an image that's backlit where the sun's on the opposite side of your subject and your subject's basically in shadows. It's like a warning light. Go use the fill. All right. So, but before we get to the fill, we have other problems in this photo. We'll kind of start in order. The white balance is okay. Let's set it to daylight, which is probably pretty much like what it was shot in, right? Now, let's go to recovery. Let's turn on the warning to see where we're losing detail. Wow, losing a ton of detail in the sky. Let's see if recovery can fix it for us. Yes, it can. Recovery does a nice job. Now, what if I want my sky to look even better? Push recovery even further. Look at the difference in where we went from here. Well, let's turn that off so it's not so bad. I mean, that makes it look like it's worse than it was. From here to there. Look at the detail coming back in the sky and the drama coming back into the sky. All right. Also, you could just lower the exposure just a little bit because it's not going to affect our next problem. Our next problem is that this is all in shadows. So let's grab the fill light slider, drag to the right, and watch what happens. Here comes the detail. Here comes back the detail that was lost just a minute ago. It does. Now, anytime that you increase the shadow areas, if there's any noise in the image, it's going to amplify that noise a little bit. Most of the time it's not a problem, but I shot this at 1600 ISO. If you've read my blog, you know the story of why I did that. It was totally by accident, but I left it set at the settings from the night before. But needless to say, the problem still exists. So I'm increasing the fill light. I am getting a little bit extra noise, but that's the trade-off. Now, one thing that I normally do, if I use a lot of fill light and have to open up something like this, I'll grab the black slider and move it from 5 up to 7. Just a little bit more, just to add maybe 2 or 3 notches into it to make sure that it doesn't look too, washed out looking when I open up that area. But it's a very, very simple thing to do, and I want to show you a before and after because we basically move 2 sliders, recovery all the way up. We move fill light and just adjusted blacks just a tiny bit. But watch the difference. I'm going to turn on and off the preview and look at the difference. Here's before and after. I mean, it took this image from the trash to something you'd keep. You may not frame it and hang it on the wall, but this was a shot that might get into a photo album or something like that. I don't think you would show it to anybody when it looks like this. So the fill light slider is great when you need it. You're not going to use it that often. You're only going to use it in backlit situations like this, where your subject's standing there and the sun's behind them. Boy, that fill light just does just a wonderful job. Much, much better than like shadow and highlight does inside of Photoshop itself, even though we will see that a little bit later. Now, I want to talk about one more thing, and that's how Camera Raw displays a preview, because I was turning on and off a little preview checkbox. First off, you want to know the keyboard shortcut. The keyboard shortcut to see a before and after of the changes you've made is press the letter P, and it shows you the changes you've made. But there's a catch. It shows you a preview of the changes you've made in just this one single panel, right? So if you go someplace else and make a change, like you go over to let's do something pretty dramatic. Let's go to the split toning, and let's do a lot of split toning here. Do something pretty dramatic in a whole different panel. We clicked up here and switched over to split toning, and I turn off the preview now. It only turns off the preview for what I did in the split toning panel. It doesn't change and take you back to what the image looked like back before you did anything. It just shows you that one thing here in split toning. So let's go ahead and reset this split toning because this is a mess. Let's get rid of this. It's just designed. I'm double-clicking here to set. Double-clicking on each one of those to set them back to their defaults. Now let's go back here. So how would I see the difference between all of my changes? So let's say that I did go in and made grayscale here. How do I see the difference? Because now I'm only going to see grayscale or back to my changes I made. How do I see what it looked like when I first opened it? To do that, you're going to go up under this little pop-up menu over here and choose image settings, and that's going to basically take you back to where you started, or Camera Raw defaults, which is going to show you what the default settings were when it opened. And to get back to what you did custom settings. There's what you did. Here's where you started. Okay, so anytime you want to go all the way back to the beginning, just to make, this catches a lot of people. The preview button's only for the current panel you're in. So if you have to convert to grayscale on, it's only going to show you what it looked like before you got to there. All right, so that's the little gotcha on the previews. It is a different way to do it. Once you get used to it, it's okay, but that's how it works. Just want to give you a heads up on that one. All right. We said we haven't talked about contrast. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But next we're going to look at clarity, vibrance, and saturation, this little bottom section of the dialog, and why they're so important.